Being Your Best You with Dr. Kier.
I'm exceptional, thank you. How are you today?
I'm so good.
Blocks to bold, brass to gold, better to best. We all get caught in mental mazes, believing that we have to live the way others see us, or being taught to think things through. Dr. Kier is an agent of change using Geotran human programming and activations to quickly and easily release people from the automatic patterns and inner glitches that block their healthy, wealthy, happy life. Instead of going where our innate circuitry takes us. Being in alignment with you is the best way to create your best life. Are you ready to be your best self? Being Your Best You with Dr. Kier. Welcome to the show.
Hi. I hope you're all having an exceptional day today, because I sure am. Here we are again. Thank you so much for showing up. And we're going to have a slightly unusual conversation. Well, not unusual for me, but maybe unusual for you. Because if you've been watching, you know that I normally just have, a conversation, an interview with people who are in my arena, my area of work here, which is basically helping people be the best person that they know how to be, whether people are coaches or readers or mentors, or in the case of Dr. Kevin, hypnotherapists. Woohoo! But today, I'm so pleased that Wanda Julian is able to be with us. Now, she comes from a very interesting background and also a very interesting direction, if I can make the distinction between the two. Because, like many of us in today's economy, she actually has a number of different hats that she wears. She's a medium. She also is a very good card reader, as in tarot cards. And she runs, I don't know how many, lots of magazines. I'll ask her exactly how many, under the title of Contessa's Court. And she also has a television show. In fact, that's how I found out about how to do this. So I am going to be asking her about how her life is going. And in the meantime, I'm just really happy to welcome Wanda Julian to the show. And I hope we all enjoy ourselves. Hey there, Wanda. How are you?
Hi, I'm so good. How are you?
I'm exceptional.
Yay.
So as you just heard me say, one of the things I find very interesting about you and your life is that you are balancing all of these balls at the same time. I mean, that's without even going to, how you live in your household and all that good stuff.
Right.
So I'm sort of wondering how you got to wherever it is you are now and where you're going from here.
Well, for the medium and all of that, the spiritual part of me, my mom and my grandma could do it. And my mom could talk to my grandma, her mother, and my grandma could see spirits as well and talk to them. And so I get that from my mother and my grandmother. So it's called, like, I don't remember what it's called, but it's better when you have family members that have the gift as well, and it's been passed down. And so
So it's like a genetic.
Yeah, something like that. It's like the gift is passed along and it gets stronger and stronger. And so what happened to me is my grandma appeared at our house. And when I was there, I never saw my grandma. I'm like, what are you talking about, Mom? And she'd call me up, I'm talking to Grandma. I'm like, whatever. So I didn't believe in it when I was younger. Like I was just like, my mom's opera rocker. And then my grandpa was very into what's it called? Metaphysics and a,
Mhm.
a lot of new agey stuff back in the 80s that I had never heard of. And I'm 16 and I'm like, whatever, grandpa. And like, like astral astral travel and all of those things that I'd never heard of, and just meditating. And he's like, he goes, you can go anywhere. And I'm like, okay, grandpa.
You say.
Yep. And so then when my mother passed away,
Mhm.
about 9 years ago, it'll be 9 years in October, she, because I can talk to my mother now. And so she said that she hurried through studies because you have to study to be a guardian angel. So
Oh.
she did all this studying to be my guardian angel. And it's like my dad is, my mom, my grandparents on both sides. They all are my guardian angels now. And I'm able to talk to all of them. And it's very interesting, and I can hear their voices if I can remember it. Do you know what I mean? It's like my dad
Yeah.
died when I was really little, and so I don't remember his voice. But I know
Right.
both grandfather's voice, both grandmother's voice, my mother's voice, and my father's voice is just like a generic guy voice. It probably is his voice, but I don't remember. And so, um, interesting things started happening after my mother died. Like my cupboards would open and I would shut them and she would open them again. She would appear in my mirror. She would open my mirror because I have like the mirrors that go like that you can put around your head to make sure your hair is all perfect. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 right.
That like a trifold
Yes. And she'd appear in your mirror.
appear that I brought from her house and all kinds of really interesting things. And then I couldn't hear her. I could see different things. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, the hearing part started.
Oh.
And like I would hear like buzzing sounds or, um, static or different things like that when it first started. And then I could hear her say one word. And then it became like a whole couple words and then a whole sentence. And now we can have conversation for hours. And I don't like to do it that long though, but it's very interesting because they all want to talk to me. And so now that I have the ability to talk to them all, because it started with my mother and then was like my mom, my grandma, and then I could talk to more and more of them. And my Aunt Martha, and she gets so excited when I mention her. She's like, she's talking to me. She's talking to me. And and so like I started seeing angels, I started seeing dragons and talking to them. Everything was just seeing at first, and people are
Mm.
probably like, she's a nut bar, but if you believe in this stuff, you believe in it. If you don't, this is not the episode for you. Or if you're
Yep.
open-minded, cool. um because it's there is a beyond, there is heaven, um, and there is most certainly a hell. So be good. That's all I'm telling you. Be good, and you're good. Um, um,
It's
but
worth being good for its own sake, also.
yeah, yeah, and heaven is so beautiful. I've been there, so I took my inner child up there so she
Mhm.
could go. And then I brought her back down, and like for a couple of days, everything was so beautiful, and like how you saw everything as a little kid. Because
Mhm.
she's 3 years old, she's a brat and a princess. That's what she is. And really, most days I'm three. No, I'm just kidding. I wish, right? I was told that it was when I was happy still. Like I
I'm sorry, say that
was
last week.
that I was happy at 3, and so
Yeah.
that's why my inner child is 3. And I went through a lot of abuse and things like that, which I normally never talk about. And that's not, this show's not about that. But it helps you heal that, being able to talk to your mom and your dad and your grandparents. And sometimes I get to talk to my great grandparents. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been very interesting to have this whole other kind of life because my family doesn't believe in it. A couple of my friends do, so it's like I can talk to you about it, and my friend Tina about it. Everybody else just looks at me like, what? And I'm
She's
just
on that
like,
track.
and I'm like, I actually had a friend that I've been friends with for like 18 years say, you've gone crazy, basically, and you need to go back on your right religious path.
On your
I go,
meds.
yeah. And I'm like, I'm on my meds. I do, I'm perfectly good. I've taken them one time, and it's not that. But she's very religious, and so she doesn't believe in it, and they all think I'm nuts. But whatever. If you can't believe in me, then you don't need to be in my life. It's pretty simple, right?
Well, that's true. So
Well,
at which point
because
you say, thank you for your perspective so clearly that I am comfortable walking away from you.
I mean, the only people that I'm not really willing to give up is my family, but friends, if they don't believe in it, well, you can either be my friend and just ignore that part of my life, or just not be my friend at
Yeah.
all, or accept
Yeah.
me. It's like I have a small circle of friends already because it's like you never know who's really there for you, or there to ride on your coattails, or there to use you. You know what I mean? And so, like, since
Yeah.
I've had the
But what I'm
magazines,
is the, hmm,
go ahead, go ahead.
um, I think this is where trust comes into it.
Yeah.
I trust that if I am myself,
Mm-hmm.
then the people that it is correct or
Yeah.
obedient in terms of my divine blueprint to be
Yeah.
in alignment with will show up
Yep.
or fade away if it's no longer correct or obedient. It's not even like I really have to say anything. All I have to do is be me, and that will be the filtration process.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Because
Yeah.
I've stopped being me online. I don't know if you noticed, I took down the banner that said all the stuff about spirituality. I took down the picture that said it. Deleted all the posts because she said something to me, and I'm like, well, am I being myself? Am I going to hurt my reputation? And you know what? I decided I don't care. I want to be myself.
Yeah.
And I just happen to be somebody that can talk to angels, talk to spirits, talk to dragons, and see them too. We've had conversations where I'm seeing a blue angel right now, I'm seeing a yellow angel right now, and it's a magical gift, and I feel, I want to say, bad and dampened, like, or dapper, I don't know, whatever word. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just being this much of myself, so my whole self.
So here's my suggestion for what it's worth, and you don't have to pay any attention to me unless it resonates, obviously, is that
Yeah,
I would be amping it up online.
yeah, you're right.
Let it
You're
be
right.
that filtration device. I was actually talking about this with Elisha. You remember my
Yes,
mentor and I?
yes.
And I had a one-to-one conversation with her last week, yesterday, last Monday, which was
Okay.
so helpful because she said to me, "Hey, in case you need it, I'm giving you full permission to be you."
Okay.
I'm encouraging you to be you as loudly and completely and outrageously and individually and uniquely and as generally speaking as brilliantly and as very much peculiar as you are capable of being, because you know what,
Mm,
that's what sets you off from the lower 20%.
you're right. And
Anybody,
it's,
anybody can be down there, or you can
yeah,
you be up here being you.
yeah,
Yeah,
I can. I mean, I have so many magical gifts. I can see spirit, I
yeah,
can hear spirits, I can talk to angel, I can actually talk to them
yeah.
and see them.
Hey, as
And
much as speaks to dragons, I understand this perspective.
I can see dragons and talk to them as well. And so it's like, why am I catering to everyone else when I am this magical being and I can help others? I can help others. You're
Yeah,
right.
yes, yes.
You're
Yeah.
like, yes, yes. And
Okay, so I am going
it's
to pass on
magical.
this permission.
Oh yay.
I am passing on from my mentor to you. I give
Okay.
you full permission to be you. Ding!
Yay! You got the wand out. That should have used that
Wow.
wand before. I'm like, come on. Um, it's so wonderful to hear that because it's like it's hard to just open up that gate, and I had it open, and then I had somebody send me a message this long, and then I'm like, I asked my husband, am I going to hurt my reputation if I do this? And you
Like,
know
who
what?
cares?
I don't care. It's like you either believe in me or you don't.
Yeah,
Either you know me or you don't, or you get to know me. I mean, it's like not everybody has all these gifts. It's a
yeah,
rare thing. It's like
yeah.
some people have the gift to read tarot cards. I do angel cards. I don't have a regular tarot deck.
Okay.
Um, and dragon cards. Makes sense,
Well, of
right?
course.
And then I want to get a kitty deck because I love kitties. You know, usually Ruby's up here when we're talking,
That's right.
and so there's a tarot deck that's all cats, and I'm like, hello, that screams me. That screams me right there. Cats. I'm
Yep.
like, how cool would that be? And you know what? I'm gonna put my thing back up there today because I want to be me. I want to be
Yeah.
me. And
Yeah.
I want to have a lot of clients that want to talk to me about that. You know, do
Exactly.
channeling for them and all of
Yeah.
that. My family's going to go, oh boy, we need to check our meds. No, I've had them. I'm good.
Yeah. Okay,
And
so I'm
it's,
going to just interrupt you for just a quick second because you see we have a
yeah.
question here.
Oh,
What's the
yes. Yes.
significance of dragons when you see them? I'm going to let you answer that. I have my own answer to that, but I would love to hear
What
what you
is
have.
the significance of dragons and when you see them? Okay, well, I have dragon guides, three of them. I have, sorry, let me get a drink.
And yes, I talk to dragons too, so I'm
Hmm.
I'm just filling in the space while you get hydrated.
Thank you. I have a dragon named Glimmer. He's red and white dragon. I talk to him the most, see him the most. I
Yeah.
have a dragon named Rainbow. He's all black with rainbow wings, and he loves to show off his
Yes.
wings. He's pretty quiet, but he loves to fly around and show me his rainbow wings. And then I have Sophie. She's a blue dragon, and she likes to dance. That's what she does, is dance.
Yeah.
And so
Perfect.
I don't really talk to her. And so the dragons is because I have dragon guides. So I talk to my three dragons.
Yeah.
And I don't really talk to any other dragons, but I talk to any and all the angels, whoever wants to appear. I can tell them apart by their color. I can ask them their name. I can tell you exactly what they look like. And if you pulled up a picture of them, you're like, that's exactly how Wanda said their hair was. And it's
Hmm.
very interesting. So the dragons are I see them or hear them when I have questions for them. They usually don't butt in. Um, the only person that has permission to butt in and bug me is my mother. She kind of is the gatekeeper for everybody. I'm like, Mom, I'm trying to go to sleep. Tell them to keep it quiet. Or if everybody's trying to talk, I'm like, Mom. And she'll go, guys, 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 one at a time, or she'll say your name. And
Mm,
so, it's very interesting. So the dragons are very respectful. They stay back. Glimmer is the one that talks to me the most. He's also the biggest dragon and very, very powerful. And so
mhm.
I'm part dragons. Oh, I'm going to reveal another secret. I'm
Oh, go
part
for it.
dragon energy.
Yeah.
So
There has to be
I,
something they align with, or they wouldn't be talking to you.
right. And so my first healer, his name is Rocky. He said that he's only seen 3 dragon energy, meaning that we're world dragons, or have some of the energy somewhere in our lives, past lives, we were a dragon. And so he's only seen 3 ever in 30 years, and I'm one of them.
Hmm. There you go.
So it's very, very interesting. And I think it makes me very unique because I know you and you know me, and
That's
that's
it.
it for people that talk to dragons.
I do actually know 2 other
Oh,
dragon
really?
speakers. Yeah. But I don't know them personally.
Okay.
It's more like 1 degree of separation.
Right.
Um, so I know them from online.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, that dragon energy is just fascinating. And actually, this is another thing that my mentor Ep8 said, when I said, well, I guess the part of me that I am hesitant to add into my public persona is the talking to dragons. And she said, you can add that in. It's fine. It's just going to refine your niche even further. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Me
not a
too.
problem.
Me too. I was kind of hesitant about all of it, and then I'm like, I don't, with you giving me information, and I really don't care anymore. I just had a birthday and a broken foot, and I'm like, I really don't care what people think. And by the way, my foot's feeling better. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad I've been sending more energy to you. Yeah.
So it's like I gotta be mean. It feels like I've cut off my limbs and I have
Yes.
like a head left. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? Just
Yes, I
not.
do. Yeah. Absolutely.
Did you feel that way about not saying that you could talk to dragons? Now, can you see dragons too, or just hear them?
Oh no, I can see them as well.
Okay.
Um, uh, but to get back to your question, I actually work a lot. I mean, my niche, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
is women between 40 and 60 who are kind of undergoing a midlife pivot, mainly because they have outgrown the roles that the people around them have imposed on them, or society has, or their religion, or whatever, wherever those expectations are coming from. And you know, they're not no longer aligned with their marriage, or their kids have grown up and are now at university, or in some way or another life itself appears to be forcing a shift.
Yep.
uh, and then they come to me or someone like me to help them understand what their own innate divine blueprint has for them. Yeah. So in
Right.
a sense, I'm reading their cards. Yeah. How
Yeah.
they play those cards, that's up to them. But what
Right.
they first have to know is what is it they agreed for this lifetime between themselves as eternal spirits and spirit itself.
Yeah.
It's like almost like, I like that analogy about being in a theatrical troupe. It's like, oh hey,
Yeah.
this how about I'll play the daughter and you be you know uh, or not necessarily in a family situation, but more sort of, okay, I think I pretty much got the hang of this aspect of life. Now let's move on to advanced classes in this other aspect of life.
Yeah.
You know? So it was very,
Mhm.
for example, it's very clear to me right from the get-go that this was not a lifetime for me to have children.
Okay. Okay.
Now, how I dealt with that
Mm-hmm.
is what makes it sort of interesting. And people might have dealt with it in many other different ways. I personally got sterilized when I was 24, because I thought, okay, just going to take this one off the table. It's just not of
Oh,
interest to me. Yeah, but most, I have to say, for most people, it's just not that clear.
right.
That kind of issue, do you see? So then
Yeah.
they get to, usually it's somewhere between their Uranus opposition, which is about age 40, and their Chiron return, which is about 50, 51. And suddenly they don't know where they're going in their lives. They know there is more to
Right.
them, more for them than
Right.
they've been experiencing. And they don't know how to get there. They know how to think about it, but the thinking about it, that's that mental maze that most of us really kind of just need a hand getting out of. Yeah. And that's where intuitives
Right.
like you, like me,
Yes.
can be so helpful, because for two
Mhm.
reasons. One is we're taking an overview. I mean, this is why we like to work with angels and dragons, because they also have this wonderful overview. Yeah.
Right.
And we're detached. I mean, your issues are, it's going to sound really uncaring when I put it this way, and it's not uncaring, but I don't care what you decide. If you're a client, I don't care what you decide. All
Okay.
I'm trying to do is help you be the best you in alignment with your own divine blueprint. And if you decide to do it this way rather than that way, that does not have any impact on me. So I get to hold the big picture for you,
Mhm.
for the
Mhm.
client. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Um, and that's actually one of the reasons I really enjoy specifically the techniques that I use, because they allow
Mhm.
me to stand back and hold that space. Yeah, I am not invested in the particular decisions that my clients may make. Now, if I could reach that level of detachment of my own life, then that would be even better.
Yeah.
So
Right.
much easier to do it for someone else, as you know.
It is. It is. In fact, I had something magical happen the other day, and I wanted to share it because it's my first experience
Yeah,
like this. I had a friend send me, who knows I have all these gifts. She
yeah,
sent me a message and she said that she had a client and she moved and her cat got lost. She
yeah,
wanted to know if the cat was still alive, if she was connected to the cat because she was trying to talk to the cat and get it home, and also is the cat well and with another family. I'm like, I
uh-huh.
never tried to talk to a pet before, but why not, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I close my eyes, I concentrate, I see the cat appear,
Yeah,
see its face. The cat
okay,
is alive and well, and I
okay.
said, you need to go home. And as I'm typing to the person, she said the cat came home.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! And I'm like, are you serious? Like, right then she's like, I'm serious. She typed to me. The client typed to her saying, my cat just got home. Cat didn't know where she lived. But that's there's been stories about that for quite some time, and so
Yeah,
my friend had to have me intervene so I could say, okay,
yes,
it's okay to go home.
yeah,
Just go home. She's waiting for you. And then
yeah,
she said she couldn't believe it, that it was magical. And I thought it was magical too because I've never
of course.
tried to talk to a cat before.
I would expect nothing less of you.
So maybe I should be called the cat whisperer or something. There's a dog whisperer. Why can't there be a cat whisperer?
Exactly, exactly. That's the thing. We don't even know the limits
Yeah,
of our own gifts
yeah,
unless and until we start exploring them.
yeah.
You know, I mean, my experience with the dragons is really pretty similar to what you're saying about talking to your parents and grandparents. Is
Yes.
that at first I could see them, but I couldn't really hear them, and
Mhm.
that has expanded with practice.
Yes.
And I imagine it must be similar also for most people. I mean, obviously, there's some who can just hear them from the word go, and that's great. But most of us are somewhere on the spectrum, so to speak,
Right.
of, practice helps.
Mm-hmm.
But I do talk more to the dragons than to the angels myself. But, we all have our different sectors, as it were.
Yeah, I talk to angels more. It just
Yeah.
depends on, or sometimes at the same time. It depends on what I am needing at that moment. And
Yes.
I'm like, I need to talk to angels and dragons right now. And they're like, we're here.
Yes, and then my experience is that they'll always respond when you ask. But you do have to ask, especially with the dragons. You actually, this is my experience, and yours may be totally different. That they will, for example, help with blocks and what have you, which is a lot of what I do with clients.
Yeah.
But you have to ask. They won't. They will not take the agency. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to keep asking, can you help with this?
Uh-huh.
Well, yes, we can. Well, are you willing to help with this? And that'll be a yes or a no, obviously.
Yeah.
And sometimes what they're especially good for, because a lot of my work depends on being able to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Um, they're actually really, really good at that too. It's like,
Yeah.
so I can say to the dragons or the angels, but mostly for me, the dragons say, well, is that the right question? Well, how about this? Yeah, because because it's about alignment rather
Yeah.
than technique. It's like they're not going to take the actions for you.
Right.
Yeah, but they're really good at counsel, advice, nudging, and stopping you doing something really stupid.
They
Mostly.
are. They give really good advice, and I just assume they can do everything. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
ask, right?
Well, exactly. But they won't do it unless you ask. So that's why we
Yeah.
we have to we have to ask
Well, angels can't intervene unless you ask.
precisely. Well, that's my experience
So
with the
dragons
dragons.
are kind of, I think, in the same
Yeah.
realm of that. So all I have to do is say, "All right, dragons and angels, I need help with this," or "Can you do this?" Or like a
Mm,
good example is a money block. Can
mm,
you help with money? Like,
hmm
um, or can you help me sleep better, or whatever it is, and it can be anything. You can ask anything. I don't do any dark side stuff,
Oh, God,
or
no. Yeah.
nope, I'm only light. So if anybody's like, "Oh, did my grandpa Bernie go to
Yeah.
the other
The other
place?"
place.
I don't know because I only talk to people in heaven.
Mm,
So if he's not answering, most likely, but if it was,
yeah.
come on, unless they did some deathbed praying, they're probably there. But I think that if you ask for forgiveness or whatever you believe, if you're just a good person, you're going to go to heaven. That's what
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And especially forgiveness is
Yeah,
very intimately connected with abundance and prosperity.
right.
Um, I know that I recommended that book to you, Edwene Gaines. For our
Yes.
listeners, that's EdweneGaines. And her book is called The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. Now, her latest book is specifically about forgiveness and debt, how to forgive your way out of debt, which I think is a really fascinating
Wow.
thought. And she tells this great story in both books. She tells this wonderful story about how her first ex-husband left her with 60,000 in credit card debt. And this was, 30, 40 years ago when that was a really significant amount of
Yeah,
money.
that's a lot of money.
And, her choices were pretty much to get enraged and go after him legally, which is what her lawyers wanted, or to take responsibility. I mean, the bills came into the house and she never paid attention. You know? And so she realized that she had to forgive him. And she started out by saying, every day, I forgive you, you sorry son of a bitch.
Oh,
And she said, by the end of a couple of weeks, I was thinking, well, he's not actually a bad person. So something terrible must have happened for him to treat me like this. And then she, continued forgiving him, and money started coming in that she was able to. She halved the debt within a couple of months, and by that time she was realizing that he was the oldest of 12 children, and her being pregnant must have been just horrifying for him. And she just got to that place. And in the second book, people ask, well, how do you know you've forgiven someone enough? Especially ex-partners and ex-spouses. Right. And she said, when you can hold them in your heart, either with neutrality or just wishing them well. You hope they've got a good life somewhere else. You don't feel any need to be in touch with them, but you still wish them well. And she got to that place within, 3 or 4 months, and paid off the debt within 3 or 4 months. Because that forgiveness was actually making more space.
Oh, wow.
Helping her valve to stay open. And whereas grudges and unforgiveness will close that valve. And so the blessings that Spirit is trying to get to you, there's no flow. You see? And curiously enough, the next time she heard from him, which was, I think, some years later, he wrote a letter. She received a letter. And by then, she was totally fine with him. And he said something like, I'm sorry for how things ended up between us, but I want you to know how much I appreciate the good times that we did have together and the benefits that we did give each other in life. And, my life is really good now. I do this, that, and the other. I'm happily married, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, here is a check for some money that I ought to have split with you just after we divorced, because it was for some furniture they'd bought together or something like that. And it was like $3,000. And she said, needless to say, I pray for him every week now.
But he got more money?
It was really, really great to have that weight off her shoulders. And also, this is the father of her child, her only child. And that they were on good enough terms with him and his wife that they could all go to her daughter's high school graduation together.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. So anyway, I slight digression, but I think that what I'm trying to say is it's about the resonance. It's about the alignment. It's if we're aligned with faith and patience and grace and obedience to your own divine blueprint, then no worries. It's when we start aligning with fear and doubt that we possibly end up places we would really rather not be.
You're right. You're going to have to help me working on that forgiveness thing, because I have a really hard time with that.
Well, I can't say that it's really my strong suit for myself, but boy, can I see it in other people. And that's the point. That's one of my lessons, okay? This is how we become the best version of ourselves, is by noticing. Noticing what really doesn't work for ourselves, for other people, for the divine part of ourselves. And not only making a commitment to change, but actually figuring out how to change.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's the problem that I see of women in our age group, is that they know they've got to change, but they don't know how. Yeah.
Right.
They just don't.
And it's hard. It's hard to know where to start. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't argue with you there.
You got to do this. I'm like, I have no money. What do you mean?
But there's lots of things you can do without money, and it's just as well.
Right.
Because the kinds of changes that have the most impact are internal ones. Yeah, they're not externally applied. So you can even if you have no money to pay somebody like me, which would of course be the quick and efficient way to do it, you can still be reading books. Yeah, you can still be listening to podcasts. You can still be making sure that you're only spending time with people who are uplifting
Yeah.
rather than make you depressed. Ooh, how can you help me with health challenges? Is that something you can address, Wanda?
No, I don't know how to do that.
Oh, okay. So that's a question for me then. Hi,
Yeah.
whoever asked that. Yeah. Well, I work in the inner biocomputers, right? And the inner
Hmm.
biocomputers and your subconscious, which are not identical, but they have a lot of overlap, um, are constantly creating your life in the physical, in the sensory realm, in accordance with the frequency or vibration that you have going on internal. Right? So if
Right.
you have a physical or health condition, and I'll call on you, Wanda, to respond to this if you choose. If you have a physical health condition, it starts with a non-physical cause.
Yep.
It starts with a cause at the soul level, at the area where you think, feel, believe, and desire. Now, most people's soul level is completely crammed up with blocks and imprints and possession and heaven knows what, right? So, the way it's supposed to work is that your spirit tells you what to think, feel, believe, or desire. And if you're paying attention and you align with that, that's going to create the physical correlation to what you think, feel, believe, and desire. So I've worked with people with all kinds of health problems, and
Right.
typically they have picked up a belief, yeah,
Hmm.
or a trauma, a toxic memory or a toxic experience from before. Now, it's not always before they were 10, but the conscious really only comes to the fore when you're 10 or older. So before 10, you have like zero boundaries and you think everything's about you. Think of Calvin and Calvin and Hobbes. Zero
Yeah.
boundaries, and everything is about him.
You know what? That is my favorite comic. That's so
Oh,
funny
me
that you
too.
mentioned
I love it. Somebody's very observant about 6 year olds.
that. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
well, a lot of people never grow past that. Okay, so what we do is we go back and we fix it there, right? So,
Right.
so my teacher used to say, it's never too late to have a happy childhood, right?
Right.
So, so when I work with people who have, well, I don't even want to mention the conditions that they have, partly because of reasons of confidentiality, and partly
Right.
because I don't want to get anybody's energy excited. Um, I have worked on all kinds of conditions and mystery ailments. Here's an example that it's okay for me to talk about. Uh, a, um, client and student of mine is also a student of a dream interpretations person, teacher.
Oh.
Yeah. And this dream interpretations gal, whom I had never met, had really severe chronic fatigue. And my client, or the client we had in common, student we had in common, said, look, I don't even know whether you can do this, but would you consider, I would pay for it, would you consider doing a session or two on this other teacher? Because I don't think she's going to make it another 6 or 8 weeks. She's really drastic. I called her up. I mean, it checked. I always check. Does it check? I called her up and I said, are you able to come to me in my office, which was on the upper floor? She says, I can't climb stairs. I said, not a problem. I will come to you. Now, normally I don't. I don't go to people's houses because it's actually better to act as a pattern interrupt to whatever's going on in their house. You see, if we can get them away from their house, we've got a better chance of really diving in there and finding out what the heck it is. But I understood. Different situation, not a problem. So I went to her house. And I worked with her for about, I don't know, an hour and a half. And she was definitely feeling better. And that was as much work as she could stand in that first session. And of course, I had to spend some time explaining what the heck I was doing.
Yeah.
Okay. 10 days later, she called me and said, I would really like to have another session with you. And I have enough strength to come up the stairs to your office. So
Wow.
she came up the stairs. We were another hour and a half. Now, and it checked that we had done what was required to clear this chronic fatigue, right? And it was a combination of now circumstances and some past trauma.
Uh-huh.
Now, 2 weeks after that, I was giving a little party. in my office. And she showed up half an hour early because she wanted to have a word with me. And you know when people say they want to have a word with you?
It's never good.
Yeah, she sat down with me on my little sofa and she said two things. One, she had had a lifelong dream to move to Hawaii. So she came to tell me she was moving to Hawaii in 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And secondly, she took me by the hand, she looked me straight in the eyes and said, if no one ever says this to you again, you saved my life.
Wow. That's amazing.
And that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that makes me feel so good.
Yeah. So yeah, I can help with health challenges. I obviously, Wanda's saying she can. I bet she could if she knew how.
I probably could ask maybe the angels to help.
That's where the picture I just got. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I can see that you'd possibly be helpful for the similar client set that I have, in the sense that sometimes people just need to know what direction to go in, and that's where the cards and the angels are, and the dragons do, could be very helpful. So
yeah, it's so magical. I know I keep saying that.
Magic is good. Magical's fine.
I know if you're not. I know I'll feel better once I meet more and more people that have gifts, because then they're just like, they accept you for you. I have been worried about if people would accept me, and now I'm just.
The right ones will.
Exactly.
And the wrong ones will stop wasting your time.
Good.
So here's my suggestion to you, and of course you don't have to pay any attention to me, obviously, but
I do.
This is what they're telling me to tell you.
Okay.
Get back on Facebook and go find the groups that already talk about this stuff. See, that's the deal. You don't and should not be spending your time in, say, coaching groups, even if it's where you meet wonderful people like me, obviously. But,
yeah,
you need to trust that if you go into the groups where people have similar gifts, firstly, that they will accept you, and secondly, that people who are looking for gifted people will find you.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. So it's having that confidence in yourself. Here, I'm going to do it on me first. 4222, 4222, 44. My brain just went out. Hang on. There we go. 4222, 4222, 4222, 4222, 4222. Okay, we reset your self-love, self-esteem. That's 42, right there between the breasts. Yeah, 42. And right below it on the diaphragm, right hand clockwise, is 22, and 22 is success. 22 is as above, so below.
Okay.
22 is that success point is actually our connection point between all this in the sensory realm and all that in the extrasensory realm.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're constantly seeking. No, it's not that we're constantly seeking to reflect one in the other. It's that it happens automatically, and we should be paying more attention. Somebody got the 22. Yay! 22. Hey, if you go to my Facebook group, which is Light Me Up Coaching on Facebook, it's a private group. You have to join the group, but there's a whole bunch of backup materials, including the subconscious clearings, of which 22 is an integral part. So,
yes, yay!
Also, you can go to Facebook and find Wanda Julian, because I guarantee you, there's nobody else with her name there.
Yeah, from Spokane, Washington. And guess what? They look like me, except for longer hair. I should switch picture to shorter hair, because I have the long, pretty hair picture, because I miss my long hair, I think.
That's a correctable condition.
Yep, just grow it out. It was short and spiky. Do you remember last summer?
Yeah, Yeah, right. Well, I used to have short hair, and then I realized about 10 years ago that I'd always wanted to have I don't know how you can, whether you can see it, have the weight.
Yeah.
You can
Mm-hmm.
feel the weight. I think it's a
Yeah.
Victorian holdover. And I started taking MSM, and I started growing out my hair, and now it is waist length even when it's in its braid. So it
Wow.
is possible to change this. Hmm. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, I
MSM is
missed it.
good for the immune system. Yeah.
Okay.
So you also, I know that you also are instrumental in letting people know about people like us through
Right.
your magazines. Now, I've
Yes.
actually lost track of how many magazines you actually supervise. So tell me.
Over 13. I don't know.
Oh, only 13.
Yeah. And some
Uh-huh.
people think that's a bad number. To me, it's a good
Oh,
number. I don't care. It's what you put stock in. Just like black cats. We have a lovely black cat named, can I talk? Tigra. And she is remarkable and loving and caring.
yeah,
And I'm like, I think it's just what you put into it. If you
well, sure.
believe in that superstitious stuff, I think a lot of it is power of our mind, you know?
Yes, and I'm a great believer in sacred geometry. I mean, that's
Yes.
the basis of what I do is sacred
Yep.
geometry, both the activations and the geotrend. But here's
Mm-hmm.
the thing. I mean, 13 is a perfectly good number. It's one
Yep.
of the, I mean, I love prime numbers. I
Uh-huh.
have this real affinity for prime numbers. So throw any 13s you do not have a use for, just throw them my way.
You're like, give me that 13. I want
Yeah.
it. And I love angel numbers, which is
Yeah.
like 1111,
Right.
2222,
Exactly.
or just 22222. And so you probably like those numbers too, but angelness numbers is like you see them all the time if you were like any bit of spirituality at all, because it's the angels trying to talk to you, and then you go to the angel numbers website and it tells you what they're telling. If you can't talk to them like I can, then it tells you what they're trying to say. It's a real
Exactly.
thing.
Hey, God talks to us through signs and wonders, of which
Yeah.
sacred geometry and angel numbers are only two examples. I mean,
Yeah.
how many times have you just come to a breakthrough about something, and then you're driving down the motorway, and you see a license plate that gives reference to exactly what you've just been obsessing about? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Feel like I'm on the right path.
You're listening to the wireless, and some music comes on, you go, oh, right, right. I was actually
Mhm.
having luncheon with my teacher Dorothy. Um, this was years ago when I was working for her, and we were in our favorite little cafe, and I was hearing something going on, and I said, "Oh, listen, there's that song that's just what we were just talking about." And she leaned in and said, "Kier, that happens all the time. Are you
Uh-huh.
listening?"
Mm-hmm.
So really, what you and I both do, and this is not the limit of what we do, but it's an aspect of it, is that we're listening all the time.
Yep.
We're just listening. So everybody out there who's listening to what we're saying, you need to know that you can listen too on that level.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes practice. It just takes allowing yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the dragons are willing to talk to. Actually, I don't know what the dragons. I don't want to speak for the dragons, but increasing numbers of people. The dragons are willing to talk to increasing numbers of people if the people who are willing to align with them. It's like who's
Yep.
tuning into their radio station. You see,
Yep.
that's how it works. Would you not agree?
I totally agree. In fact, before I really started hearing voices and stuff, that sounded bad. You know what I mean, right? One time I was walking from the bathroom in my house through the kitchen, through the dining room. Two people were having a conversation that weren't there, into the living room, and they stopped talking. And I'm like, what was that? They were just milling around the house talking to each other. And I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't recognize their voices. And I feel like these two people, spirits, were
Yeah.
in my dining room.
Right. In fact, because I work with empaths a lot, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, one of the things that I get to teach, guide, teaching, I think is the best word for it, is how to have decent boundaries.
Yep.
The fact that, I mean, really, it's for an empath, it's a bigger problem
Yep.
sifting through the barrage of impressions. And of course, an empath by definition doesn't really know which one are theirs and which belong to energies around them. So that's one of the reasons that I strongly encourage everyone to have such a strong sense of self that they know where you end and the other person begins.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be rebroadcasting everything you're picking up necessarily.
You're right. You're right.
Plus side, the higher frequency or alignment that you can manage for yourself, the more you're only going to hear the supportive, empowering,
Right.
intelligent, truth and light stuff.
All right. That sounds great. Yay!
You know this. I'm just reminding you. So I know that this other thing you do is can you talk to us a little bit about the magazines and of course you have your own television show with our lovely producer Angie B.
Yes. Love you, Angie. So my TV show it's about my guests, right?
Right.
So it's a talk show host format. It's promoting what they're doing, what they're, and I'm going to start getting more spiritual guests on because I know I will have a lot of in common with them. And not that I don't. It's like, are you a woman? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a man? Are you an entrepreneur? And now we're adding the spiritual aspect. So
yeah, get it
why
down.
Not?
Niche it down.
Yeah, I probably should. And because right now it's like this broad thing, and I'd like to get it to about here for my niche.
Yeah.
And
with more intensity.
Yes. And then the magazines are whatever topics I'm passionate about. So it's like fashion's my number one. Fashion, luxury, lifestyle. I love all praise, love jewelry, love perfume, love cars, love all that luxury things. So I love wedding stuff. So there's a wedding magazine. I love beauty. I love to pamper myself. So I have a Pamper Yourself magazine.
Okay.
So and I'm starting a spiritual gift one. I'm starting a coaching one. Of course, the one I'm working on with Angie is women in business, and so it's we're going to come out every other month with that one. And I'm still trying to figure out what magazines are going to come out when, because there's so many of them.
So, my dears, those who are listening and viewing, if you would like to participate in television shows like this or in these magazines, go hunt down Wanda Julian on Facebook.
I'm easy to find. And also, Dr. Kier is going to be in this next issue. She was in the first issue. She's going to be in this next issue too, which will be up as soon as when you watch this show, it'll be up.
And my dears, I'm really sorry to cut this off, but we're out of time. How did that happen?
Went by fast.
Thank you so much, Wanda. And I know that people love to hunt you down. I mean, search you out.
Yeah, that sounds better. I'm like, I don't really want to be hunted.
I know, even as I said it, I thought, but, carry on doing your great work. And remember, there are people out there who want, need, desire exactly what your gifts have to offer.
All right.
Some of them are watching this very program, so you know where to get in touch with us.
Hi.
But in the meantime, everybody, we are done for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Angie B., our wonderful producer. Thank you for Wanda for
Thank you.
being willing to come on the show. And we will see you next week. Ta-da! And I will go and put on my beret and go to the cafe just about now.
Okay. Thank you.